as my head seemed to swell, fit to explode. Memories dove and leaped into place as if poured by the bucketful into my skull. And then I knew. I realized where I was and the predicament that put me there. I was stuck in a holding pen, just like the ones I used to lock prisoners in. Why the hell would I be a prisoner? I focused on my memories, a flash of blinding light and not much else before that. I knew me, or who I had been. I was, or had been, a cultivator worth his weight in divine cores. Yes, that was what I used to be. But now what was I? Some filthy prisoner, barred from accessing the mana around me? Why? Why couldn't I feel any of it? The questions piled up, despite my inability to speak or answer them. My head drooped from their weight, and I stared down at my body. Tattered, brown robes clung to my emaciated form. The garments were caked with mud and dried blood, but the body beneath was so horribly foreign. My arms were thin, my carefully cultivated tattoos absent. My legs were long, with knobby knees. This body certainly wasn't my own, but why was I in it now? I clenched my fists, the muscles knotting up in response. Weak, yes. Battered, yes. But it wasn't a terrible shell, either. There was evidence this body used to be rather strong before it was thrown into the cell. I took in a deep breath and closed my eyes, thinking about how to proceed. If I really had died, as my memories suggested, then I'd been reborn into this body. Had the previous owner done something bad to warrant me taking over? No, that wasn't necessarily true. Had he crossed the wrong person, gawked at the wrong woman, or just staggered into the wrong place at the wrong time? Maybe all of them. I needed to find out who and what I was, and maybe that was a question I could answer. But first, I needed to explore just what my pitiful form could do. I moved my fingers first, then my toes. They moved, even if they were a little stiff. I moved my head next, then my arms and legs. Everything worked, though every movement was painful. At least that meant I was alive, didn't it? And being alive, I had to figure out if I was shut off from mana due to a weakness in my body, or if I was blocked for some other reason. I closed my eyes and leaned back down, breathing steadily, and pressed my hands against the ground. It took some time, but eventually I found what I was looking for. A tendril of warm energy deep beneath the surface. Only a sliver. That told me that something terrible had happened. My call for mana should have summoned forth boundless amounts of the priceless essence, but instead, all I received was a paltry tendril, barely enough to warm a finger. "There you are," I muttered, as a thin streak of power entered my arms and moved further into my body. I was more than happy with anything I got my hands on, especially since I was in such a sad state. I inhaled as the warm sensation trickled up my neck and into my head. It should have entered my various meridians, but since this wasn't my body, it simply lingered for a moment before dissipating. My mana pool hadn't been activated, at least not in this body, so I had nowhere to store the power until it was needed. Luckily for me, activating the mana pool wasn't a complicated task. I would just need some time. And fortunately, it was something I had in abundance by the looks of it. I sat cross-legged on the ground, folding my limbs into a formation to siphon the mana from the ground beneath me. First, I would need to absorb enough mana from my surroundings to construct the pool deep within me, to build a reservoir out of thought and potential. Once done, I would draw in as much mana as I could reach and fill the pool. From there, I could advance forth, realizing new strength. Further realms were at my fingertips. It was a comforting experience to feel the taste of power once again. And it saddened me a little, considering it was likely the first time for this husk.